are new, welcome to the channel, man. And if you are a returning person, thanks for checking back in. I know it's been a while since I actually uploaded anything, and I still have been sitting on content for a while, but definitely a lot going on. I got like shipped off to Alabama for like a week, had to do some hazmat training at the CDP and FEMA and all kinds of stuff. Pretty cool experience, but that's a whole nother story. So what we do here is we try to get it done with what we got, and definitely try to keep it low buck, but we're not going complete garbage if we can help it. Now, as you can see, the scenery around me, this is not the optimal situation to be working in, but it kind of is what it is. You deal with the elements, especially when I don't have a garage, check. I don't have a lift, check. And I don't even have a place right outside of my house where I can just walk out the door and work. I gotta drive a bit to do so. Hopefully you've watched part 1 of this, which is pretty much gathering all the things that you're gonna need in order to get this job done. And don't get it twisted, this is not just for OBS. I just so happen to have an OBS, but this is the same type of approach you can take with any vehicle that you're trying to delete the OBS and install a proportioning valve, of course, and install a line lock if you want. You don't even have to. You can just ignore that part of the video. So there's a lot of questions to be answered. Hopefully I can answer majority of them. It isn't going to be all of them because this, again, is a multi-part series, so part 3 still has to come out. But what we're getting into on this one is actually mapping out the plan, getting everything disassembled and taken out, and actually starting to come up with some sort of a thought process on where we're going to actually mount and route these things. So yeah, guys, take from it what you will, and just try to take whatever pieces that you guys need, and hopefully, you know, it helps you out. But all right, man, let's get to it. What's up, y'all? I mean, I don't know what I'm thinking today, but I'm going to try to get it done. We are going to get this ABS deleted, and we are going to get this line lock installed. Now, it sucks because I ran into a bunch of issues. I mean, and it's putting everything on the back burner. I mean, I still got the intake, the marine intake. I still have the BBK throttle body. I still have the heads, springs. I was going to get a cam, but problem is having facilities to actually do all of that work is one of the biggest problems. I just went to go and try to get a garage, and the company, they wanted like $100+ more than what was advertised. Plus on top of that, it was less space than what was advertised. It just didn't work out. The problem I always had, I've bled these brakes, I don't know how many times. I replaced the entire brake system, calipers, master cylinder multiple times, wheel cylinders for the rear drums, all of that stuff, it didn't work. Then I did a little more research and come to find out the ABS units in these things definitely leave a bit much to be desired. And from the symptoms that my car shows, it's internally leaking. And these things are not cheap to replace, even refurbished, like they are ridiculously priced. So that I don't die, I'm absolutely gonna get this ABS delete done. And then the line lock, yeah, that's for the fun stuff. But my main gripe at the moment is every time that the weather gets cold and I come outside and get ready to go to work, I start it up, hit the brake, it damn near goes to the floor, and yeah, that's not a fun feeling when you're coming up to a stop sign. So that has to stop. And since I don't have facilities now, I'll be going out to the main road so that my association doesn't take pictures of me again and report me. So here's the life of what that looks like. Now this is all the stuff that I literally have to put in the back of the truck to drive to the main road, to get it up on jack stands and start to do all of this work. Absolutely not fun, but it is what it is. Got to push forward somehow. So I mean, I got my jack stands, got my new jack that I got. This was on a heck of a deal. Harbor Freight had a great sale. Got the leaf blower just because my Caprice is over there and the leaves, and people talking about it being abandoned and getting harassed and all of the other crap. I was going to do the oil change, but actually I'm not, because I thought I had one of my Wix filters, and I've been so religious with those Wix filters that because I don't have one, I'm not doing it today. I'll just have to do it another day. Other than that, more supplies. That is the self bleeder, because having a second person to help with this stuff is an issue. I really don't want, you know, my old lady, if I don't have to have her load the baby into the van, drive over there, hopefully to keep her quiet, well, the baby quiet, and then having her trying to like bleed the brakes. We've done that before. It wasn't too fun. So this should alleviate those troubles. We're going to find out. All right, so I just blew the leaves out just because over here was all cobwebby and whatnot. Yeah, because this thing, I definitely want to move it up a bit just to show that it does move. I try to do that from time to time. But yeah, just blew the leaves out and whatnot. Got a freaking grass growing over here. And then over here, just continue to blow the leaves. And now I just got to set up shop pretty much here and deal with the judgment of the uppity folk walking their dogs and whatnot. But other than that, gotta get started. Going to move the PCM out of the way so this harness is out of my way and I have a better view of what's going on. The bracket is still on here. You can't really see it, but the bracket's still on here from when I first started trying to do a mock-up. And yeah, so move this out of the way, start taking all of these lines off to get this ABS disconnected and get rid of it. Okay, so I'd be absolutely lying to you guys if I said that I was not nervous right now. Because again, I guess I have not learned. I am off today. It's already after 1, and I am off tomorrow. But I still have life crap to do that eats into my time as of today and tomorrow. I need this to get to work. Once I crack this line open, there is no going back, because I'm going to have to bleed the brakes, whether I go back or whether I do the job. So yeah, a little nerve-wracking. Being under the gun sucks, and having one vehicle, absolutely not fun. All right, so your boy still shook. I got all the lines out, and truthfully, as far as getting these things out, man, I'm just gonna say, just go to Harbor Freight, dude, and just get both of these freaking kits. If you get the Pittsburgh, it's like 16 bucks each. If you get the Quinn brand from Harbor Freight, I think it's significantly more expensive. I think it's like 20 something, close to 30 bucks. But yeah, just get some of the Pittsburgh ones, get the whole assortment, because I had to use a bunch of different ones on these. No rhyme or reason. Maybe it's just me, but that's just how it was designed. Now, reminder, this is all stainless steel because I bought, I believe it was from Dorman, I could be wrong. I bought a whole stainless steel kit and replaced all the brake lines in the truck with the stainless steel. Not to mention up front, I have the stainless steel braided line. So now I just got to get these, what's these things? These bolts out, and these are 13. So I'm just going to work on these. And then once I get these bad boys out, the next thing I got to worry about is, well, I mean, I don't know if I'd say worry per se, but this whole thing is about to come out. Once that comes out, that's going to be a bit of motivation because it's going to take some of the bulk out of the bay. And I just got to figure out how I'm going to trim this bracket up, because all I need is just enough to put my, what's this thing called? Enough for the PCM to be able to sit in the tray, and that's it. But yeah, so just going to take these bolts out, and then once these are out, I'm going to work on that wire harness, and then boom, out we go. All right, so we got it out. Just pull it over to the side, and there's a few wire harnesses in here. I mean, just got a flathead screwdriver. Took these blue locks out because these blue locks kind of slide in on the opposite side to kind of lock it in place from them ever backing up. But once you take those blue ones off, pull these out, and after you got all the brake lines off, the 4 bolts on all 4 corners that hold it down, boom, it's free. This one here, this thing's leaking like a freaking sieve. It's just right here, coming out of the freaking, what's this thing called, master cylinder. But I'm about to plug that up, just so I don't lose all my fluid, even though I'm probably gonna end up flushing it all through, and set up for the next thing. Yeah, the next step for me was just to take these lines out of the side of the master cylinder. Once I got these out of the master cylinder, these are chilling over here. I'm gonna take these to the back and put them aside for now. But also I'm gonna start kind of cleaning up my workspace here. So we get that towel out, spray some brake clean, do kind of like an intermediate clean, and start removing all the stuff that I know isn't necessary. Who knows, I may recycle something with these lines, but I doubt it. I'm just gonna take these, and these are the ones that came out and into, what's this thing, the ABS. But yeah, gonna grab all of this stuff and kind of take it toward the back for now, so that way it's out of the way. Ooh, yeah. All right, boom. So those are here. moving on. All right, so I just sprayed some brake clean down in here. Definitely a lot better of an environment going on, at least for the time being. And like I said, there's no turning back. I gotta make a way. So I kind of brought a few things up to the front. For starters, where'd it go? Did I just cover it up? I just had the damn proportion of, oh, here it is. All right, so got the proportioning valve. Now, I am able to now put this up on the bracket that I already have this been on there for a while when I did the mock-up. I can put this on now and then start using my imagination to figure out where things will go. Now, here's one of the debates. Now, I couldn't get, well, I could have took this out, but it was so hard to get out. I was like, you know what? I think I'm just gonna leave that switch there. So I'm leaving the switch in, even though I'm not using it. And the one thing I asked about was, does the proportioning valve, or this proportioning valve, does the rear interact with the front at all? It does not. The front literally just acts like a T. So it's going to come in the front end, which is what the FI is for, and then it's going to be the two front out ports. It is just a T. There's no check ball whatsoever here. The only check ball is in the rear, and this rear check ball is a part of the adjustment to pretty much put how much pressure you want going to the back or whatnot. That might not be the right way to say it because the pressure really kind of depends on the driver, but this pretty much adjusts the bias here. This is the only check ball, long story short, that is here. The thing that I have been worried about is you have people that say that the line lock is supposed to go before the proportioning valve. Then you have some people that say the line lock is supposed to go after the proportioning valve. And my question is, why? There's got to be a legit reason. I'm quite sure nobody woke up and just said, hey, I'm just going to make a new rule. That's not how it goes. So let's have a conversation about this real quick. Now, with the proportioning valve, with the line lock, from what I read, the closest thing to actual science as far as a reason as to why that's an issue is because they say that a factory, most factory proportionate valves, I know with older cars, don't ask me about anything new, but there's a check ball in them that has a safety feature to whereas though, let's just say you're driving and you spring a leak in your rear brake lines. If you spring that leak in your rear brake lines, that check ball is going to kick in and pretty much go and block off that passageway to the rear brakes, so that way you still at least have front brakes. Understandable. Same thing when it comes to the front. If you were to just lose brakes in the front, that check ball is supposed to go in and block that off, so that way you still at least have rears for the time being. Safety. Now, just a tidbit I'm going to give you first is that the Wilwood proportioning valve does not have a check ball that interacts with the rear and the front. They are completely two separate units, and the front only has, it's pretty much just a T. It's just a T up front. So they say the issue is when you do lock on those brakes and you hit that brake pedal down, and then you actually hold it with the line lock, the issue you run into is that proportioning valve, the older one, thinks that there's some sort of a leak. So therefore it causes that check ball to slide and stop the leak. But there is no leak, you're just using your line lock. So that's the best description I can kind of give you as far as the science. The only thing that I found so far researching that actually makes some sort of scientific sense as to why this line lock should go after the proportioning valve. But in my case, the thing is, I don't have that type of proportioning valve. I have a Wilwood proportioning valve. It does not have a check ball that interacts with either one. So in truth, I think I should be fine to just hook up this line lock, go from the master cylinder to the line lock, and then into the proportioning valve. Some people say that's a no-no. Most companies, I even called Wilwood myself, I want to say probably like 30 minutes ago, and they said that they usually recommend that you do it after the proportioning valve. So again, he was honest, he couldn't give me a reason as to why, but I'm guessing it has to do with that whole factory check ball in the proportioning valve issue. So honestly, I'm still on the fence about it. I don't know in this very moment if I'm going to try to plug up one of the holes that come out to the two front lines from the proportioning valve, just so I have one coming out from the proportioning valve and then put the line lock in, or if I'm just going to put the line lock before the proportioning valve. I don't know. It kind of depends. I'm going to still use my imagination to try to get this stuff in place and see what's the most feasible and then go from there. All right, so once again, did a little more cleanup and did this mock-up. So these, there was a little bracket here that you saw earlier, and that little bracket pretty much just housed all the, what's those connectors? These things. These type of connectors that hold wires. So I popped all of those off. This thing was here, and all it did was just pretty much just hold those in place along here. And it's the ones that pretty much run to, like, you know, the ABS module that was here. And those wires run down to the front wheels and so on and so forth. But all of that stuff now is null and void since it's been deleted. So I got the, what's this thing called? Got the proportioning valve on the bracket that this comes with. And now I can kind of get an idea of what I'm gonna do as far as getting everything plumbed. Now, the one thing that I will do first and foremost, I have to plumb line going from the master cylinder into the top of the proportioning valve. So once I do get these mapped out, 1 and 2, that's like a big portion of it out of the way. I'll use a wire hanger and bend it just to get kind of a rough draft of where I need to make my bend to make this work. Then here, I'm trying to get a good angle so you guys can see what I'm trying to do. But this here is the rear brake line that came out of the ABS that goes to the rear of the car. If I can just modify this slightly, this will be great for you guys because, again, this is me just once again hot rodding on a daily driver and making stupid decisions, but it'll make it easier for you guys when you're ready to do it. What I'm thinking is if I can cut this line here, and then once I cut it, I can put a nut on it, flare it, and then I think I can be able to get it to work because that here, this brass, that's the goal. So if I can just slightly modify this, do a little bit of bending, and then get it to go up in there, that is an absolute win because that is the rear brakes done and out of the way. Then on the other note, we have the two front lines. These two front lines came out of the ABS and pretty much just went to each wheel. So if I had to be able to chop these down so that way I can get them to work at the bottom, what I'm thinking, let me show you guys what I mean. I gotta try to find this angle. Okay, so this angle isn't bad to try to get you to understand what I'm saying. So this line here actually is not far from going directly in here. So I would be able to cut this line, put a nut on it, flare it, place it right into this portion. The back portion here, this here, that's just a block off nut that I had in case I was not going to do the whole like proportioning valve before, I'm sorry, the line lock before the proportioning valve. If I don't, I would just unscrew this block off nut out, and then again, this other line right here, see this? This is not far from the goal either. It's right by here. So I'll be able to cut this one, put a nut on it, flare it, do the same thing. And that would be a home run. But again, that would only be a home run if I was to run the proportioning valve straight from the line lock straight from the master cylinder to the line lock and then into the proportioning valve. If I do that, everything that I just said with those bottom lines will work out great. I just got to figure out where I would mount it, because issue is they want you to have that type of stuff below level of the master cylinder. Boom. So if I was to do that, thing is, I would have to figure out where I can put this, that it is below the master cylinder, but then I would also have to figure out, which, you know, here, not a bad spot. I can make a bracket, that's not a problem. But then I have to figure out, is it an issue if my line is going from the bottom of the line lock and then comes slightly up into the proportioning valve? I don't know. This is all stuff that I'm trying to figure out, research some more as I'm doing it. Because if I still sit here and just research, I'm just going to be sitting here, what do they call it? Paralysis through analysis, and I'm trying to stop doing that. Okay, so here we are. Lighting isn't the greatest, and this is where you take a wire hanger and you start chopping it up and start making bends to make things work. So I kind of already realized what I'm going to do as far as where in line the line lock is going to go. So I am going to put the line lock before the proportioning valve, which once again, this proportioning valve serves as just a T. There's no check-off valve. What's up, man? No, you're good, you're good. Yeah. Oh, yeah. What's going on? A new room. So the way that I'm going to do it is the line lock is actually going to be on an angle. And what I'm going to have to do, I mean, this end already is kind of like on this front face. So I don't have to use an elbow. But I think on the inside, I am going to have to use a 90 degree. Because the plan is to mount it. And it's kind of hard because all of this stuff is in the way. But point being is that it's going to get mounted, hold on. It's going to get mounted here somewhat. Now, reason why I'm going to do that is because I want it to still be, like what most people say, I want it to still be downhill, everything to be downhill. So the thing is, you got your master cylinder here, and then you have the, what's this thing called? Proportionate valve there. Now the middle ground is not a lot between going from this height of the master cylinder down to the proportionate valve. But if I take the line lock and lay it sideways, not 100% sideways, but I kind of got it on an angle, this is going to continue to be downhill. And truthfully, even if I did have it horizontal, because it's below, it should be downhill. But what I am going to try to do is get a slight angle on it, so that way it goes from the master cylinder, goes slightly downhill, and then into the line lock, and then it's going to go a little bit downhill in the line lock to this out point, and then from the out point to that front port right there closest to me, that's where it's going to go into. Because the way that these master cylinders are set up on the OBSs, this very front one here, that's the one that goes to the rear brakes, and then the one in the back here, that's the one that goes to the front brakes. So I just have to make this first line and keep it out of the way so I can still get to this other port for the front brakes. I'm not trying to make that too complicated. But also, as you saw, being on the side over here, this loop is kind of in a way. So I'm trying to think of a way where I can run the line from here to that back port, and without having it be in the way of either one, the line lock, or two, getting to this port as well. Okay, so this is going to be pretty tricky. So what I did for starters, just to kind of, I'm glad I have, like, you know, multiple pieces. I took one of the complete pieces that comes with the kit, and is already flared on both ends with fittings. I'm not using these fittings for the, what's this called? I'm not using these fittings for the actual master cylinder, because I mean, it's going to be a little different for you if you don't have the NBS master cylinder upgrade. Because I mean, even with the NBS master cylinder upgrade, the only difference when it comes to the ports and that you have to do is the rear brake lines has a bigger fitting that goes inside of the master cylinder. So there has to be an adapter for the NBS one, because the NBS one, both of these are the same size. But on the regular OBS one, this front one has a bigger size. So for me, I have the NBS master cylinder. This is the actual fitting that goes into both of these. It's the same size, and here's the Wilwood part number. So this is the Wilwood part number for it. And I ordered two because, you know, obviously you got two ports. So these two is what's going to mate my lines into the master cylinder. Then once that's done, I will be able to use the smaller ones that are already on here, because these will screw into the proportionate valve with no problem. So back to the experimenting. I cut the long one in half, like I said. Well, not half, I lied.
I cut it with the long side and a short side. Hopefully this long side, if all goes well, this will be the actual one that gets flared on the opposite end and bended, so it can actually make up this line here. The short side that was left over, I'm gonna use this one to kind of test where along this line I need to start my bend so that I can start making my way down toward here. And that's gonna be a bit tricky. So that's what I'm figuring out now, and get back to you then.
Okay, so I got my behind handed to me. It is hours later, and you know what I managed to get done? One line. Let me show you which one that is. So this is the one that I just managed to mock up. Now, it's gonna be tight. I had to add some extra bends while it was in there, but man, it sucked. So what I ended up doing was, there's two different lines that the Wilwood proportion valve comes with. Now, these will not work for you, period, they won't. And with that being said, I did use it as kind of like a reference to try to get an idea of how this one should be. So when I used this one as a reference and just had to make it a bit longer in certain sections, it got me close but not there. So while it was there, I actually had to get the tool. Oh geez Louise. I actually had to get the tool and do some bending while it was here to try to take up some of the slack. Now, I don't want to do too much and then warp it and make it weird looking, but this is finally freaking done. And that's not even the end of it. Like, I still have to get this to the line lock and then line lock out to here. Now, mind you, those I think are going to be the easiest ones. I think this is the most difficult. Now that this one's out of the way, I am going to have to now start thinking about these bottom ones, getting these chopped, and then using the tool to flare these. Now, this tool worked out pretty great. I'm going to show you kind of how you do it later on, but I had to learn first, and that's another thing that took this much time. Is number one, the stainless is absolutely a lot more rigid than the other stuff you would use, so it definitely puts up more of a fight. And honestly, I'm not sure about me, you know, going under the hood and flaring those other lines, because this, I could at least take it out of the car and have it in my hands to get good crank and good torque on it. But those in the bay, that's gonna be a different story. So now I'm out of time and I gotta wrap it up for the day. So that leaves me literally one day left, that's tomorrow, and that's only half of the day. And that's to get the rest of the lines ran and get it bled. So not looking too good, but we'll see. I'll see you tomorrow. So that entire process tore me a new one, 100%. It was absolutely not what I expected it to be. But then again, when you're trying to go off the top of your head and make it up as you go, it does take more time, which was the goal of this, was to hopefully cut your time in at least half, or at least less time than I took. So had to cut it off right there because I had a lot going on, doctor's appointments and taking kids to go to functions and stuff like that. All of that was happening in between, but I was still trying to get it done. And touching on that last part with that double flaring tool, absolutely recommend it. Again, can't stress it enough. Watch a video, and there's multiple of them on this particular tool, on how it works, because it'll get really into detail, and more detail than I could have at the time. And again, they have the proper tools, the ones with stainless, blah, blah, blah. But once again, working with the limited space and funds that we are working with, it worked great and did the job. I mean, that's kind of a spoiler, but at the same time, you'll be fine. But all right, guys, stay tuned in for part 3, and that's just going to be pretty much wrapping it all up. Everything's done, plumbed, and ready to go. So I'll see you on the next one, man. Peace.